For as far back as I can remember, I have had a fear of dolls. Perhaps it is something about a human form that seems to hover along the line between that which is alive and that which is not, that which is human and that which is not. Lately, I have been wondering what I might be able to learn from this phobia. Today, we will learn how to take a sequence of photographs taken for stop-motion animation and bring it to life using Adobe Premiere. Before beginning to work in Premiere, it is important to have all your files how you want them. Once we import them into a Premiere project, if we move our files or change their names, Premiere will not know where to look for them. It is important to note that a Premiere project file does not save a copy of your files within itself. It refers to the original file. So, if you were to delete your original images or footage later on, the Premiere project would no longer be able to play them. One other thing to note, if you are using a new Mac computer, they sometimes default to saving your desktop files on the cloud rather than on your computer's hard drive. You should be sure to save your files onto your actual computer or onto an external hard drive, because working with video will fill up your cloud storage almost immediately. We want to use JPEG image files for this process rather than camera raw files. So I'm putting all the JPEGs in their own folder and removing the test shots from the beginning of the sequence. If you delete anything from the middle of the sequence, thus skipping a number, you'll need to do your import process a second time, starting where the numbers pick back up. So let's wait until later to remove anything from the middle of the sequence. Now we are ready to open Premiere. This may take a minute. Then we want to make a new project, which we can do by clicking New Project in the launch window or going to File, New Project. You should give your project a descriptive name, one that you will not fail to recognize when sifting through an ancient hard drive years from now. I have not done a very good job of this here. Next, choose the location of your project file. This may default to some arcane and mysterious Adobe folder if you aren't careful. Save your Premiere project in the same folder as your images, so everything can all stick together. Set your scratch disks to same as project, and click OK. If your window doesn't look exactly like this, make sure you are in the Editing Workspace view, and you can select and drag the different panels and windows around to different spaces on screen until you find an arrangement that you like. This is how I prefer to set it up. To import your files, you can double-click in the project window or go to File, Import. Select the first image in your sequence and then click the Options button. Check the box that says Image Sequence. If you don't click this box, the photos will import individually and not as one animated sequence, which can totally work, but involves a couple of extra steps that we're trying to avoid. Click Import. Now, in your project window, you will see something that is named after the first image file name, but if you hover over it in icon view, you can see that it's actually all of your creepy doll photos together. If you just drag this into the timeline, you'll get a sequence with some weird settings. So if we're instead going to go to File, New Sequence. There are a lot of preset options here. Do not feel overwhelmed. For right now, we're just going to think about two things: frame size and frame rate. If you want to go for a standard HD video size, that's 1920 pixels horizontally and 1080 pixels vertically. And for our animation, we'll be doing 24 frames per second. So we're just going to pick a preset with those attributes and call it good for right now, and we'll get more into what a codec is and what all these letters mean in another video. We'll name our sequence and click OK. So now we have in our project window our imported media and our new sequence. You can see the sequence in the timeline window, and that for now it is merely an empty vessel, waiting for creepy doll photos. Now we can drag our media into the timeline. It will ask if we want to change the sequence settings to match the clip, and in this particular context, we do not. Click Keep Existing Settings. The program window shows your current sequence, so now you should be able to see an image of this doll that you got for a photo shoot several months ago but have not given a name yet, because then you will feel committed to keeping it and you're not sure if you can actually handle that. But in the timeline window, you maybe still don't see anything. If so, it is because this clip is very short and your view of the timeline is very zoomed out. You can hit the equal sign key to zoom in and see your clip in the timeline more closely. You can use the spacebar button to play and pause the sequence. If the playback isn't very good and the bar above it is yellow or red, you may need to do some rendering for better playback by going to Sequence, Render In to Out. So the size of your photos is probably larger than the size of your video sequence. To scale it down, select the clip and then find the Effect Controls window. Expand the section titled Motion, and then adjust the scale number until it looks good. The aspect ratio, that is the shape of the rectangle, essentially, of my photos is a bit different from HD video, so I've decided here to crop the image rather than have black on the sides, but either one would be fine. I am sure we will at some point have a rousing discussion in class about the aesthetic implications of aspect ratios. Playing through, you can notice a couple of things. I was using natural light, which means the lighting shifted slightly between photographs, which can give the lighting a bit of a flickering look. Artificial lighting is a better choice for stop-motion animation because it can be more easily controlled. You can also see that while I was using a tripod, I was using a total piece of crap tripod that was also partially taped to a table to somewhat make it more stable, but not very effectively, and so you can see a little bit of camera wobble from frame to frame. If I want to play this a little bit slower, spending slightly more time on each photo, I can right-click on the clip and select Speed/Duration. Here I've set it to 70% speed. Say there's a part in the middle you'd like to cut out. Find the Tools window on your screen and select the Razor tool. This evokes the literal razor that one would use to cut literal film, one of many examples of the physical mechanics of filmmaking being recreated in digital space. Use the Razor tool to make cuts, and then switch back to the Selection or Arrow tool. If you simply hit Delete on a selected clip, it will delete the clip and then leave an empty space. If you go to Edit, Ripple Delete, it will delete the selected clip and then everything else after it will scoot down to fill the gap. If you copy a selected clip and just regular paste it, it will tape over whatever was there before. If you go to Edit, Paste, Insert, it will paste the clip in, but scoot all the clips after it over to make room without erasing anything. To add text on screen, go back to your Tool window and select the letter T. T is for typing in this scenario. Make a little text box on your program window and then start typing. You can use the Selection tool to change the shape of the text box. To change the style of the text, select it with your Type tool and find the Effect Controls window. There you will see a line named Text. Expand it by clicking the little caret arrow thing and customize the font of your text. You can also change size, color, opacity, and various other parameters. To adjust the length of an image or clip or title in the timeline, You can hover over the end until an arrow appears and drag that around to trim it. To add a fade out, go to the Effects window, which may be in the lower left corner by default. Select Video Transitions, Dissolve, and Cross Dissolve. You can click and drag this cross dissolve to where you'd like it in the timeline and adjust how long it takes. Cross dissolves may not work between two very short clips because there aren't enough frames. You may need to render again to get an accurate preview of a dissolve in the program window. To add audio, you can import an audio file by going to File, Import, and selecting your file. You can then drag it from the project window to the timeline. Use the selection and cut tools, as well as the trimming arrows, to place this audio the way you want it. Sound is not required for this project, and we'll spend more time on actual audio editing down the line. This is just to whet your sonic appetite. When you're ready to export, select the part of your timeline that you'd like to export by finding your endpoint in the timeline and hitting the letter O for out. Then select your start point and hit the letter I for in. Now you are ready to go to File, Export, Media. Here is another daunting window, but do not panic. On the left, you should see a preview of your export, and here you can double check your sequence in and out points. On the right are your export settings. Under Format, we're going to pick H.264. For this class, this is pretty much always the format you will want to use. Under Preset, there are a lot of options, but for a pretty good compromise of image quality and file size, I like to use the Vimeo or YouTube 1080p Full HD presets. This next part is very important. Click on the output name to tell Premiere where to save your file and what to call it. This sometimes defaults to a weird random place, maybe wherever someone saved something from Premiere on this computer before. And then you can't find your export, and then it gets very confusing if you have 7 different files that are all called Sequence 1. So be sure to click this and give your export file a deliberate name and a deliberate location. We are exporting video and audio, so we want both checked. And now we can export. Clicking Q will actually open a different program, so for now let's click on Export. This should be fairly quick for a sequence this short, but be aware that this process can be lengthy and harrowing the longer your piece is. And here we are. Success. I mean, I am still absolutely terrified of this doll, perhaps even more so now, but at least we have learned how to animate the inanimate.